Hey there. So I just got back from Indiana, from Gen Con, and, tired, but felt like I wanted to get this tournament report out as quickly as possible. It's pretty exciting. I played in one of the events, the main event on Friday. There were three 100 plus person tournaments, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. What I'm going to do is break down the top performances of each of these events, and then talk a little bit about my tournament report from the Friday event, and then go into a little bit about like what we can learn from this event about the metagame. And yeah, before we go, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot. I also launched a new Patreon. It's currently free right now. It's a Patreon that's going to include some sample deck lists, like tournament testing deck lists that I do, theory crafts and stuff like that. So if you're just looking for a little bit extra, you can do that, and a link to that will be in the comments. All right. So here we've got the day one. So this was the Thursday tournament, the report. So Troy Yamaguchi went 7-0 with a mono yellow Han. He actually, you'll see his name in the next report as well. We had a really well-performing Krennic Green. This was a 30 health Krennic Green, more of a hard control build of it. We had Boba Yellow, Sabines, like 3 Sabines in a row, one of them being yellow. Then we also see like Han Blue, Young Han. So this is another deck like that, and the Mono Yellow Han are a couple new decks that are going to pop up throughout these reports that I want to take closer looks at. Other than that, it's a lot of Sabine. At 11th and 16th, these are my two teammates, John Todd and Andrew Cox, both playing Qi'Ra ECL, a deck I've been working on from the beginning. So really nice to see my teammates crush with that deck. I think it's very good. You'll see another good performance of it coming shortly. Yeah, and here we see another mono Han yellow, and a lot of Sabine, and one Tarkin snuck in. So, we see the main thing I'm not seeing here is Boba. There's one Boba. He did very well. He finished third, but that is the only Boba in the top 16. There are a ton of Sabines, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Sabines in the top 16. Justin Allen, he's from Garbage Rollers, awesome member of the community, so big shout out there as well. So yeah, tons of Sabine. That's really important because Sabine is kind of like a gut check on the format in general. You can see, right, there are no Palpatines in the top 16. The first one we see is 21st. I know for a fact there were a lot of Palpatines in this event. I think it was the 3rd or 4th most represented deck in the initial cut, but it did not get very far for the most part, and that definitely will have to do with how much Sabine is running around. But we'll see why Boba, I'm not sure why Boba didn't perform here very well. I don't see a ton of natural predators. I know the blue-green villain like Qi'Ra ECL, it's a very good match into Boba, but I don't think a lot of people were on blue-green in this day. So we'll have to take a closer look at that as well. I still think Boba is awesome. And yeah, so we're going to go through some deck lists after I finish going through all 3 days. But we're definitely going to take some closer looks at this Mono Han Yellow and the blue Young Han. Get a better idea about what those two decks, which are going to be pretty prominent, are doing. All right, day 2. So that's me, Qi'Ra ECL. I took it down on day 2 with I think it was 1 or 2 cards different from the 2 that my teammates played the day before. Again, we see another Krennic Green 30 health. It's not the same player, but it is again a 30 health Krennic. Here we get more Boba today, right? We've got a Boba in 3rd. We got a Boba in 9th. We got a Boba in 12th, 14th, 13th. Lots of Boba. A lot of Boba today. The 16th as well. We don't know who 15 was playing. So tons of Boba. Boba, big comeback. much less Sabine in this one. So, Boba went up, Sabine went down. Kind of makes sense. I think Boba, in a lot of cases, is favored into Sabine's. So you can see that. Big shout out to George. Awesome dude. Playing Hondo. Wild stuff. We'll take a look at that deck list later. I know he played it in all 3 days and did really well all 3 days with it. And I think he changed the deck between them too. We'll take a look at that. But yeah, again, Troy, awesome job, like going 7-0 and then 6-1 in back-to-back events with the same deck. It takes a lot to do that. A few other cool stuff, right? We see a Kylo yellow. I actually played this player. He's a really neat deck. He was just swarming. He was playing like 3 cards a turn every turn. Even when he had no cards in his hand, he would draw 2, play 2, and then smuggle something in. Just every turn was 3 cards. Very low to the ground deck. Turbo aggro. Was a cool thing to see. Other than that, I'd say the big change here from day 1 to 2 is really just the Sabines kind of converted into Bobas. And we'll take a look at my individual tournament report at the end of the video. All right, day 3, day 1, Boba gone. Day 2, Boba back. Day 3, Boba really back. So top 3 players are all Boba. We got 1 green. It's Alex Hancock, who played 30 health. Boba Green. I think he played it on day 2 as well. We see, I'm going to talk a little bit about, so Mike Gem and his brother, Matty Gem, 2 more of my teammates playing Qi'Ra Green. Now, this is a slightly different build from the one I played and the one John and Andrew played on day 1. They played a 30 health version of Qi'Ra, leaned more into blue, played Childson. The idea here was to be a bit better into Sabine, and awesome. Both top 16, both walk away with a playmat. Ian Klein here. So Ian, I think he came first place in Saturday, Sunday Star City events last week in Baltimore with a Han Yellow deck. I know for a fact that this Han Yellow that he finished 8th with here is different from the Han Yellow there. We're going to take a look at some of the Han Yellows because there are some differences between them. This was a hard aggro Han Yellow that dug much deeper into like a Rebel package with Han. But we see that he's been crushing it with Han, and that's pretty awesome. We see another Han Blue here. Actually, Frank Meyers and Phil here, both with Han Blue. I even spoke to Frank, so I was working on some Han Blue stuff myself, and I got a lot of good info from Frank. I've already thought of some changes that maybe my Han might need, but we get a 3rd Han Blue, Chris Allen, and he's running a list. I sent him mine, and he made a few changes, but he's running a list very similar to the Han that I made a video on about a week ago. So you got 3 Han Blues in this top 16. And then, Sabine was back here as well. So there were 3 Sabines. And other than that, we see some Tarkin yellows. There's been 1, I think, in 2 or 3 of these events. Tarkin yellow is a cool deck. It has a very specific plan that is sometimes hard to counter. It doesn't seem to always get there, but 1 appears to be sneaking in a lot. And then we also got an Iden Green here, which is cool to see. I was a big fan of Iden in set 1. I've mostly moved everything villain green related, blue-green into Qi'Ra. I just think it's better suited, but I still see Krennics and Idens, and they're performing. So, there's hope for those as well. All right, so I'm going to take a look at some deck lists. It's not going to be most of them, right? I want to take a look at Troy's because he crushed. So this is Troy's Mono Yellow Han. As you can see, it is a lot of hand hate. So we've got Bodhi's, we've got Qi'Ra, we've got Spark of Rebellion, we've got Cunning. He's trying to kind of remove every problem card, set up a potential DJ tech combo with Han really early in the game, go have extra card advantage through Ezra. You got some smuggle to go long, right? And then some aggression too. He's got upgrades that push damage, Cunning, obviously, surprise strike. He's pump damage. So it's hand control. It has a really unfair, like, resource stealing mechanic with the DJ Tech combo. And then it's just trying to close games out. Obviously, the top end here is not anything like villain top ends or even like blue hero stuff or green hero stuff. Like, the curve is stopping at a 6/6. It's not really the way this goes long is through sheer power of card advantage with things like tech, and not so much on like the pure power of the top end itself. Other than that, I really am curious about the Cartel Turncoat. It kind of seems counter to what the deck is trying to do, giving the opponent a little bit of a chance to draw, but maybe just like space aggro is like just so good, and some decks just don't have any way to meaningfully mess with that it worked out for him. But again, like, big shout out. He went 7-0 and then 6-1. That's kind of absurd. All right. Bobas are everywhere. We're not going to dig too much into the Boba. We're going to look at George's Hondo, but we're going to look at the one he played day 2. I think that was his highest finish with it. My deck, again, we're going to look at that at the end. What I do want to see here is I wanted to look at this PAL, but the link doesn't work, so can't do that. But we're going to look at Jacob's Kylo. So I played against this deck. You're gonna see the lowest of all low curve decks you will ever see here. This is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24 one drops. 24 one drops. And he's playing 3, 6, 9 2 drops and 6 3 drops. And then he's got Force Chokes, which were actually really, really good in the matchup that I played against him. It allowed him to steal a game off of me because I think in every single game I played against him, we played 3. I flipped Qi'Ra and he one-shot her with a Force Choke. And then he's got a bunch of buffs, all these upgrades he can play from the resource row. This is turbo aggro. It definitely is weak into the card Overwhelming Barrage, right? Like, the moment I was ever able to stick a unit and barrage, the game basically ended. So I do think there are some weaknesses to this deck, but I also think, like, this, even through those weaknesses, because of how linear and how aggressive it is, you can steal games off of your unfavored matchups, just like Jacob did. He played this very tightly, and it was kind of scary, even into game 3, where I think I healed like 20. I still, like, found it, like, hard to actually ever push damage into his base because I kept having to answer like 3 threats a turn. This was pretty cool. I just wanted to kind of showcase this one because it's very different than most of the decks we see. All right. We'll take a brief look at this Boba Green. This is Alex Hancock's deck. It's just a 30 health Boba. This is definitely a bit of a bigger Boba than I'm typically used to, right? He's playing 6 7 drops and an 8 drop in the main deck. It's trying to go longer. It's got Bazine and Salacious Crumb. So, like, Salacious Crumb's interesting here because it's a 1 drop to get out of Vader, which is something that the deck wasn't really ever playing. It also works well with McClunky. So he's got, like, a little more interaction than maybe we would typically see. He's playing a bunch of upgrades, so 3 Boba's armor, which can definitely get some people. I wonder if he would consider going back to Energy Conversion Lab. I don't think this deck is particularly suited for it because he's not playing any, other than the 1 Rook, there's nothing really crazy to ambush here. But maybe he would consider at some point, like, trying to go back to Zuckuss or some other big unit to try to ambush with and switch back to an Energy Conversion Lab. You know, I'm a big fan of ECL, kind of an ECL snob, but I see a lot of 30 health green, and it seems to be working out for a lot of people. All right. Frank Meyers, we're going to look at his Han blue deck as well. Actually, we're going to look at his from Saturday because, let me scroll and find that one, because that's the one he finished 4th with, just in case he made any changes between the day. So this is, I've spoke with him a bit about this deck. He thinks he would call this more of a control deck. This is really meant to go long. Han obviously being able to cheat all these big units ahead of curve is really powerful. You've R2s. He said he really liked the R2s because it's just a free unit, right? You can play off of Han. Tech making its way into most hero decks at this point as kind of a late game engine, or in the case of the mono yellow Han stuff, like an unfair cheaty thing with DJ. Luke on 6, right? That's the name of my deck. I think that's the biggest thing this deck does. And there's a lot of interaction here. Carabast, which I've been like on and again and off again relationship with that card in this deck. Frank really liked it here. He's got a lot of removal, like a lot of removal. He's got some hand hate with the pillage and the K2s and the force throws. So that's kind of a good secondary plan into control decks. Of course, Crate Dragons as well are good into that. I really like this deck. I'm a big fan of blue-red. I love to Qi'Ra it. And I think this Han deck kind of takes a lot of like things from that old Qi'Ra deck from set 1, especially with like the hand hate stuff and the force interaction. And it appears to be very powerful, and a lot of people are picking this deck up. So I'm definitely going to keep working on it. And he's shouting out his teammates, Tibbets and Sinatra. And I know Tibbets was a big Qi'Ra guy in set 1 as well. So not surprised that he's been working on a deck like this too. All right, we are going to look at Bobby Sapphire's, Mike Gem's Qi'Ra Green, the one that him and his brother, Maddie. Oh, no, we're not going to look at it. It's private. All right. I know what's in it, mostly from memory. I know the name of the deck is definitely not Woo's Qi'Ra Green. That's fair. It is not exactly my Qi'Ra Green. No, neither of those links work. All right, so this was a 30 health Qi'Ra. Is much heavier into blue. It was playing Childsons, of course, to help with that. Entrenches, because with the Pike Sentinel in the early game can really just end a Sabine's game immediately. You just end up with a giant Sentinel that you can then shield with Qi'Ra. The removal package, it's pretty similar. I know they played one Rival's Fall in the sideboard, a card I'm notoriously not a huge fan of, but I did hear that in Maddie's last game, he was able to use that to defeat a Bosk, and it did help him secure that victory and his playmat. So there you go, Rival's Fall doing something important. The deck itself is still not, I wouldn't call it a hard control deck. It was not aimed to mill or to go into like decking, but it was built a little bit more to insulate against aggro. Now, because the 5 health extra was there, they opted not to play clients. I think the deck itself was missing a little bit of a space presence potentially because the Black Suns were no longer there. So it was just Inferno 4s and then like the removal, of course. And I know that came into a bit of a problem against one of the Bobas that Bobby Sapphire, Mike, played against because guy had 3 tie fandoms in his deck, and it was really tough to interact with that without some additional space. But obviously, huge shout out to my buddies, and both had amazing finishes, 5th and 16th place. All right, let's look at Ryan, Rebel Resources. Check out his YouTube as well. We're going to look at his list. I know he played Sabine Yellow in every single tournament here and finally finished really high with it. I think, what was his record? He finished 6th, though. He must have been 6-1. He might have been like the top 5-2, but I think he was 6-1. All right, Yellow Sabine. I've been a big Green Sabine fan. Like I said it before, ECL snob. I think that card is just nuts, and playing it with Wrecker is kind of absurd. So I haven't really worked too much on Yellow Sabine, but what you can see in Yellow Sabine is the number 22 next to space units. That is the goal, right? You're trying to cheese people in space. Not a lot of decks can handle that much of a bombardment of space units, especially like early and often, right? Like having 3 space units out on turn 2 is really common in this deck. It still plays some like a lot of like burst that you would expect, right? For Cause of Believe in, Surprise Strike, Heroic Sacrifice. You've got K2s. But this is just trying to make it so your opponent can interact as much as they can with Green Sabine. That is the idea behind it. And well done, Ryan, for taking home a playmat with this list. All right. I definitely wanted to look at the other Han Yellow here by Ian. This is the guy, like I said, that won 2 SCGs with a Han Yellow. But this is the new version. This is very different from the list that he won those SCGs with. He played something much more similar, he told me, to that list in the first 2 events, but he said he wasn't performing as well as he would have liked, and and felt like that strategy of like being much more all in on this like DJ Tech combo and much more all in on a grind value game wasn't really working out, and he just wanted to end games quicker. And as you can see, this is also very different. Also very different from Troy's deck, his mono yellow. So this is has a huge rebel package. You can see fleet lieutenants, you can see wing leaders, you can see the 6 droids are in here to carry those buffs. Rogue operative, an amazing buff carrier as well. You've got in the actual like events and upgrades, right? You've got like the 3 surprise strikes, the 2 blasters. You've got cunnings to burst. They're playing sneak attacks. Sneak attack was a big thing in Sabine Yellow to do something with like K2, or sometimes even Fleet Lieutenant. Fleet Lieutenant with sneak attack can target himself and hit for 5 immediately. It's huge burst, so sneak attack also is going to help there. New Adventure is a nice thing and also works really well with sneak attack because you can keep the unit that you sneak in. New Adventure also has some neat targets with like Wing Leader. You just replay your Wing Leader, get 2 more experience. It works well with Fleet Lieutenant to get an extra action sheet, an extra buffed attack. And you know, they're playing like sneak attack is card disadvantage in a way, and like so is using Han's ability. It's a ton of 3 drops in this deck, as you can see. I believe there's, we're just going to count 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 24, 26. So C-3PO is more than 50% to hit, even without R2. It's going to generate more card advantage to let you use Han's ability more aggressively. They're trying to play a 3-drop on turn 1 almost every game. I think mainly you wouldn't do that against decks running Power of the Dark Side, and you probably don't want to do that against decks maining open fire. So there are situations where you're much more likely to prefer to lead on a droid. But really, those are the only cards that you can play turn 1 that aren't a 3-drop. So you often need to do that. And you know, against the villain stuff or open fire decks, like you can lead a Bodhi Rook and try to snag that removal out of their hand if that works out for you. It's neat too that he's a rebel, so he works with the buffs. So yeah, this is still wants that DJ Tech unfair combo in the deck. But other than that, this kind of looks like a Boba yellow deck to me. Like this looks like it's a deck trying to like win on turn 5 or 6. It's not trying to play a super long game. It has a bit of unfair stuff going on with it, but for the most part, this is a hard aggro deck. And when he made that switch to the hard aggro, he finished in the top 16. All right, so that's, I promised we would look at George Hudson's Hondo deck, but I want to look at the one from Friday, if I can find it. Friday. Where is it? All right, let's just look at the one he played on Saturday. He also did well there. He finished 23rd, right? So, like, this guy's crushing it with Hondo. So, this is wild stuff, right? It's never something I would have, like, brewed up. He's kind of a brew master. I think, honestly, when I look at it, I think the best 2 cards in it are Covert Strength and Timely Intervention. These cards giving experience is really, really powerful. Timely Intervention can do some crazy stuff from the smuggle, right? Like, that bonus point is huge. Covert Strength giving 2 experience out of the smuggle, also really nice. The deck can play a very long, grindy game because of how much card advantage it gets from the smuggling. But when you look at it, it's not playing like this is not a typical blue-green control deck. His top end is much shallower than like decks running Star Destroyers. He does bring in a couple off the sideboard in Avenger, but he doesn't have Relentlesses and Devastators, and he's probably not going to win mirrors into those cards in the typical way that these decks do, which is like, I Avenger your Avenger, you Devastator my Avenger, I Devastator yours, and like whoever has the last one standing wins. Like he's trying to win these games by pure card advantage, because he gets an extra hand of cards in his resource row. Some of those cards are not awesome, right? Like Vigilant Pursuit Craft is not like some bomb. It's a 3/5 for 7, right? Or it's a 4/6 Sentinel if you bring it with Hondo's ability. But it's a card, right? It's not costing you like any card advantage. Collection Starhopper is actually, I think, one of the better rate smuggle cards, right? Because it can come out as a 3/3 for 3, or it can come out as a 2/2 that puts an experience on like your turn 1 play, which may have been a Pike Sentinel, which works really nicely. Additionally to that, you've got like First Light. He's got 1. That's a powerful smuggle card. Lone Pike is an absolute bomb. Like this card is actually just incredible. I think this is one of the best cards in the set or in the game, period. 4/6 stat line, dodges removal very cleanly. It's a very overstatted 4-drop. That shielding ability is so good when combined with the way that blue decks can often just defeat things through shields. Lone Pike is a beater. I play them in my Qi'Ra deck as well. And yeah, like this, even without the smuggle, is awesome. So like the fact that this can smuggle and then throw experience around when you play it is awesome. Other than that, he's got a ton of removal. He's got healing. And yeah, it's gonna grind. It's gonna grind really well. There's no Vaders in this deck. There's not many targets for Vader to pull out right now. Like he's got Pike Sentinels, Ruthless Assassin, and Clients, and then Inferno Force. There's nothing majorly impactful to Vader with. But I think it also could be a consideration to just like play the Vader and then maybe play a couple other cards, like a Space Sentinel that he can pull out, like the Black Sun or maybe the Death Troopers, just to give some more oomph at the top end. But this is a cool deck and a really sweet brew. All right, so we are going to now take a look at my tournament report. So here we go. So let me hide my face. This is the list that I took to the Friday event. This is what I won with. It'll be linked below. Like in the Patreon, you can click it. You'll see this exact list. This deck, I think, is incredible. I'm not going to ever say, like, this is the best deck in the game. What I will say is I think this is the deck that gives me the best chance of winning an event with. I like having answers to anything, really. Like, I don't think you can get cheesed out of games too easily with a list like this. I like being heavily favored into Boba, and I like not being unfavored into Sabine. Now, I think there is some conversation to be had about this Sabine stuff. I feel pretty okay into the Sabine matchup. I tested a lot with my team. I felt like I got this to the point where I was comfortable going into event and being like, even if I bump into a couple Sabines, I think I can take them down with this deck. The main deck is even a little shaded towards like greedier matchups, right? You see 4 Star Destroyers, you see a Super Laser Blast. You only see 2 Vigilance in the main deck. I do have Clients. I think they're very good. Now, I didn't play a Sabine in this event, so I can't come here and tell you like I crushed a bunch of Sabines. But yeah, I think I can beat Sabine with this deck. Anyway, there's going to be a full video, a deck guide about this Qi'Ra Green. It's not going to be right now. So for now, you get the list. You get to hear a bit about like the actual tournament. These were my matchups. So I played a bunch of Bobas. Go me. That's what I wanted to do. I played 4 Bobas. I went 8-1 against Boba. The one loss I had was against Reflex. It's Andrew. He's my teammate. That Boba yellow deck had a few cards that do sometimes give Qi'Ra a problem. The number one was Relentless Pursuit, because after I flip Qi'Ra into his Boba, he can Relentless Pursuit to shield his Boba, take one of my units, and make it harder for me to kill it. Now, in the first game, he did that, and then I played Takedown. So, that still worked. But he was able to take a game off of me off the back of that, and Forlong, which is another card that can be a problem because it kills one of my earlier plays and leaves a 4-power unit in play that then makes it a little more awkward to flip Qi'Ra into. But yeah, so like round 1, Boba yellow, 2-0, right? Round 2, Boba green. That was Alex Hancock's. I showed you his Boba green list earlier. Was able to win there. That was on stream, so you can catch that there. I think Code Dameron is the YouTube content creator that was streaming. Then I played against Old Han yellow, right? This is the mono yellow. This was tough. I lost game 1 in a really grindy game, and I had to really claw back in that matchup. My opponent, she played very well. This was I thought one of the harder games I had to maneuver through. I won game 3 on the back of Palp's return. After early in the game, I had one of my mauls discarded. A couple turns later, I was able to draw Palp's return, one-shot the Han leader, and the game basically could never get recovered by Han at that point. All right, round 4, I talked about it. That was my teammate, Andrew. He took a game off of me in Boba yellow. Round 5 was Kylo yellow, so I showed you that list as well. Those were fun. I mean, I think my deck is pretty favored into a swarm deck like that, overwhelming barrage and just bigger units. But I definitely was able to steal a game off of me when I was not able to stick a unit in play. I wasn't able to get like a lone pike into play. He was able to kill my Gideon before I untapped, and then from then on, I was never able to stick like a meaningful unit. I was only either playing removal or low cost units that weren't able to swing the board, and that's when he stole a game from me on the back of Force Choke as well, one-shotting my Qi'Ra. Round 6, back to Boba, great. And round 7, Hondo blue. Talked about George's deck. That matchup, especially post-board, I thought swung a bit in my favor. I had way more top end in my deck than he did. I had 2 Avengers, 2 Relentless, 2 Devastators, 2 Palp returns, on top of like the already Vader, Maul, Snoke stuff. So yeah, he was able to bring in a couple of more Avengers and Super Laser Blast, but I was able to chain Star Destroyers in game 2 to the point that he just ran out of removal. I was able to stick an Avenger with a shield on it. The only removal he had left, he told me, was Overwhelming Barrage, and from then on, there was nothing really to recover. And then a Relentless dropped at the end of game 2 to seal the game completely. Okay. So last thing I want to talk about is some new players, and there's a few. I think Old Man Han Mono Yellow is a deck that I want to take a closer look at. This deck has been performing very well the last couple of weeks. Some good players are telling me that it is a good deck. I have not played with it yet, but I want to be open-minded. I played against it. It was one of the hardest games I played all day, and I'm definitely going to start taking a look. And I think there's a few versions, right? We saw the grindier versions. We saw the Rebel aggro versions. I don't know if there is a right version yet, but we're gonna take a look there. Young Han Blue is another deck that popped up a lot here. I know there was a player at SCG also that did very well with a Han Blue. I think top 8'd all 3 days. So it's another one that, like, you know, it's a new deck. I know it takes some time to like be like, yes, new deck is good. Like maybe it's just luck. Well, maybe it's not. And we got to look. And, you know, I like Han Blue. I made a video about it. I think a day after I made that video, I already changed some cards. Like I added Kanan's back in because I felt like the deck needed some more early game into Sabine. And then like maybe a little more force. I spoke with Frank. He really likes Mace Windu in this deck. You know, I'm not a big Mace Windu fan, but I'm going to take a look. I mean, even at 6 cost, when he comes down as a 5/5, it feels like Mercenary Company to me. But if he kills something and untaps and like readies himself and then can defeat something else, if you really are just playing a control deck and you can turn Mace Windu into a 2-for-1 on turn 5, or actually it would be turn 4 if you cheat resources with him, then I think he might definitely be worth it. And I'm gonna look at Frank's list. I'm gonna compare it with mine, and like see what kind of changes we can make, and just keep an open mind about that. Qi'Ra Green, I mean, I put it here. This isn't really a new player. This is villain blue-green. It's a very established archetype. Qi'Ra is just a new leader. I will say it right now that I think she is vastly better than Krennic and Iden in this shell. I think her, like, no amount of healing outdoes the fact that she can trade with basically any leader and also gives you a late game. Like, late game, Iden and Krennic do absolutely nothing in these mirrors, and Qi'Ra puts shields on Avengers. It's a very different thing in a mirror or in against any late game deck to have that ability. So I just think she's better. I don't often I don't like speaking in like so like straightforward and being like so adamant about something. I think Krennic and Iden can make very good decks. I would very much opt towards Qi'Ra with green. We're also looking at 30 health green blue decks, either like hard control versions like the Krennic greens that did very well on the first 2 days, or like the blue green 30 health Qi'Ra, which was still a soft control deck that my teammates played. But there is, a question here about whether or not like ECL or not is required. And Hondo. All right. Hondo. All right, and then the core. So this is the core. It is still the core. The demise of Boba, it was funny to hear. I think like after day 1 of that tournament, it's like one Boba in the top 16 is like Boba's dead. Boba is not dead. He crushed day 2, and then he crushed day 3, being the top 3 the top 3 finishes were all Bobas. And that Boba Yellow, there was also a good Boba Green in there. I still think Boba Yellow is like going to be more of the core, especially if you're looking for like stuff that you want to test your brews against. It's 1, 2, 3. It's not close. These are the 3 decks. Blue Green Villain, editor's note Qi'Ra, but Han Yellow, Blue Red Han, Tarkin, Palpatine stuff, Vader stuff. Like there's a lot that you can add to a gauntlet, but I wouldn't even start with that part of the gauntlet until your deck goes through this and doesn't get smoked. I would start always with Sabine. It's quicker, so like you can know straight up if it's even worth pursuing. You have to tell yourself what percentage are you okay losing to Sabine. I don't think you have to take a deck and be like you have to be favored into Sabine. I think it's okay to be a little unfavored. It's just how much, and then how much are you gaining against other matchups, right? That's my issue right now with Palpatine. I think you're so grossly unfavored into Sabine, and it's not like you're auto-winning everything else that it makes it tough for me to justify Palp right now. Although I think Mono Green Palp is a fantastic deck, and the moment Sabine becomes a little less popular will certainly be something that to look at. I think Blue Green Palp as well as like the bigger version of Blue Green Villain. It's not to say that you can't play these decks, but you have to be realistic about your expectations into Sabine. Once you've determined you're either favored into Sabine or like, I'm 40%, 42%. I mean, I'm making up numbers, but whatever you're comfortable losing to Sabine, well, now you go to Boba and you better be favored there. Like you can't be unfavored into both of those, but like if you're slightly unfavored into Sabine and slightly favored into Boba, I think you can then pursue your deck and see like, okay, now how am I doing into control decks? Let's start with blue green. These are like the more traditional soft control Vader decks with ramp. You can start looking at hard control decks like mono blue decks after that, and then you'll have to start exploring the wider landscape, which is probably going to start including mono yellow Han, blue red Han, Palpatine, Vader, Tarkin, and I'm definitely forgetting some stuff. It's been a long day, but yeah, so I hope this is helpful. Gen Con was a blast. Really happy to go there. Really happy to take down a tournament. Again, if you want to support this channel a little more, go click on that Patreon link. Right now, there is a free trial period. There's only a little bit there. The whole thing right now is a work in progress, which is why it is a free trial period. There's a few deck lists up there. They get updated in real time, and that's kind of the whole idea behind this Patreon, is that you'll have access to my data and like my testing lists, not my data, sorry, my testing lists as I work on them, and you'll see some theory craft decks that are not tournament ready at all, like decks with 40 cards in their sideboard because they're messing around with them. But you'll get to see kind of in real time what's happening with those decks, and you know, sometimes those decks get abandoned because they're not doing it. But yeah, if you want to support a little more, you can go there. Definitely subscribe, like the video, and tell me what you think in the comments below. Take care.